Well, a warm welcome to you all. This is our Friday Carnivore Live Conversations. I'm JJ. I'm a life coach and I eat mostly meat.
I'm Eric, and all I think about is audio. But I eat beef, bacon, butter, eggs, and coffee, and now flavored Element.
Oh, we'll get into that in a moment, but you can clearly see Eric has designed a whole setup for us. I feel like I'm back in my radio days.
I never did radio days, so I have no frame of reference. I do think that we need to get rid of the headphones, though.
Okay.
Unless we're going to watch something on YouTube that we're going to need audio for.
All right,
but
we'll do that.
We look kind of stupid with these on.
But yeah, back in, I wasn't planning that because now I've threaded mine through my shirt because I thought we were wearing them. But yeah, back in college, I did internships with radio stations. So the local AM station, I was a news reporter. I wrote the news and reported. And Kevin, I can't remember if his name was Petrucci or Pachuki, was the DJ.
Okay.
And so he would pull me on to co-host with him sometimes. So yeah, this reminds me very much of that.
Well, was that topic carnivore back then?
I can tell you I did not eat carnivore back then. That's about all I can say. I was on gluten. I was on the grains. I was eating pasta, pizza, bread. Yeah, that was college days.
So our channel is about carnivore primarily. And so we tend to talk about all of the benefits and, well, that's all that we talk about is the benefits of the lifestyle and what some of the challenges are of maintaining it.
Definitely some.
I think that I face more challenges than JJ does.
Well, the fact you have a meat aversion is...
Well, it's an obstacle for
bit
sure.
Of an obstacle. We talked about, I don't like fish, but I'm great with beef.
Our last video, we talked about the omega-3 index and our blood tests because we decided why not test it out and see what our omega-3 levels were. And I supplement with fish oil. You didn't, but then you changed your ways. But we had a lot of comments saying, eat sardines, even though in the video we had said,
I can't stomach fish at all, period. So sardines are not really an option for me. And this is something I've tried to eat my entire life. I've given periods of trying to eat fish because it was healthy and all that, but I just can't do it. It makes me vomit. It's not good.
I don't encourage that. So I don't have as much of a problem with fish, but it's not something that I generally ever crave.
Sushi.
But that has rice.
Yeah.
So that's not something that's on the plan.
No, not at all.
Plus, the sushi fish is full of mercury, and I don't need that. Mm-hmm. We have a couple of things that you've brought.
Yeah, we didn't organize our thoughts today.
Well, this is kind of a dry run of the new setup. We didn't promote it. We didn't, really schedule it in advance. So if...
Oh! Go ahead, sorry. You go first.
Let us know where you're from and how long you've been doing carnivore, if you're doing it, in the comments.
We did not do a live last Friday.
No, we were too busy.
We were too busy. So when you said it wasn't scheduled, we never schedule our lives yet. We're hoping once we get settled into our new home this fall, we'll be able to have a better routine around this. But good luck catching us on Fridays. That was the first Friday we've missed, though, since we started doing them. So that was pretty good. But we had a lot of work to do at the new property. Now, is anyone here with us? It seems strange. We have
we see there's a couple of viewers online, but they're shy. So
or busy.
And we also know that many people listen to us like a podcast, so their phone's in their pocket or they're driving. And so we don't want you to text and drive.
No.
So I think you should just pull over and just watch us and listen to us until we're done. And then you can get back on the road and pick back up where we left off.
Yep, that's what they can.
So one of the things we really enjoy is encountering the world that is bizarro, upside down, everything is backwards and wrong about diet world that you realize once you go carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the basically the kind of pop news about what should be eaten for various health conditions.
Yes.
And we were at Walgreens and JJ spotted something yesterday or the day before. And we are going to show it to you
Yes.
right now with this camera view. Ta-da!
Look at that. Oh, it's letting my next thing leak. But yes, there it is. The Real Simple Special Edition Anti-Inflammation Healthy Habits for Life. Now, this costs $15. I was shocked when I got to the register, but you know, I took the hit for you. You now no longer have to buy this for $15 at the Walgreens. And it's unlikely you would, because we do see honey and we do see blueberries on it. So most of you probably wouldn't go for this magazine, unless you were a Saladino type carnivore. Is that still called carnivore? I think so.
I mean, I think he changed to animal based.
Okay.
Because bees are animals.
I get that.
I don't think fruit is animals though. So
No.
I don't know how that works.
I say I eat mostly meat based. So yeah. So I'd like to share some of the wisdom from this magazine.
Let's see it.
All right. So you want me to, I can't read it from here. All right. We'll start with reboot your diet. That's right. To fight inflammation, eat healthfully. Fill your plate with whole grains, the right fats and spices, lean protein, fruits, and vegetable. Skip processed foods and try meatless meals. So a lot of that is counter to what we practice. I mean, we certainly aren't doing a meatless meal, and no whole grains, no the right fats. Yeah, we focus on the right fats. That would be animal fats for us.
Yeah.
Lean protein occasionally creeps into our diet just for some variety, but we're mostly eating fatty meat. And I do agree with skipping the processed foods. But we can go in here. Let's see. Pull it on up here. Let me bring it back. And just let's look at some of the healthy foods it talks about. Apples, artichoke hearts, berries, burdock roots, cinnamon tea, honey.
Wait a minute.
Wait.
Burdock root?
Yeah, burdock root.
That's a weed that we try to get rid of because it develops terrible burrs that get in your shoelaces and in dog fur.
It has anti-inflammatory properties for the skin. You know what else has anti-inflammatory properties?
Let me guess. Beef?
That's correct. One study found that burdock root decreased inflammation in people suffering from osteoarthritis of the knee.
Okay.
Yeah. Kidney beans. Let's not forget the kidney beans. There's more. Onions, pecans, seeds, especially those chia seeds. People love chia seeds. Shiitake mushrooms, spices, sprouted grains, sumac, tofu, and turmeric.
Well, I don't know. The spices are probably okay, right? And if you can tolerate them.
I was listening to, I think it was Georgia Ede. She just did I love her anyway, because of the way she speaks is so easy to understand for me. And she just cuts to the chase. And she did an interview with Rena at 5 Minute Body. I highly, highly recommend. But I believe she talked about spices in that. And her big thing was that, number one, if you want to fight inflammation, don't become inflamed. Like, the foundation is not adding anti-inflammatories. It's reducing the inflammation. And I believe she talked about spices and that you would need so much curcumin, she specifically brought out, which is the turmeric. You would need to eat so much to even have it benefit you. Like, we don't eat that much in one sitting. And then there are, of course, anti-nutrients in there as well. But yeah, massive quantities to actually do any good.
I had seen some video about turmeric. I don't know how to pronounce it. And I started adding it to my morning eggs. Not recently. This was in the way pre-carnivore era. And more was better. I think it was better with hot food, and it was more activated with pepper. So I had these really very bad scrambled egg things.
Yeah.
Because I was this sort of person who wasn't as interested in it tasting good as in forcing down all of the superfoods. And talk about giving me digestive trauma.
Wow. Interesting.
In large doses, it was not beneficial.
She might have even brought that type of thing up. I
Yeah.
can't remember. But one thing she mentioned was she's not opposed to using spices, I don't think. I think that's fine, although she says they're usually concentrated.
Mm-hmm.
But also, if something tastes hot or bitter, it's our natural response to not eat that, generally speaking. And that might be a sign, might be a clue. So you making those terrible tasting
Yeah.
eggs might have been a clue that your body was not really jiving with that.
All right. So what else do they say we should eat?
Well, that's it for that article.
That's that one?
That's our, yep. That's,
Okay. What's the next one? Again, let's remind people what this is.
Sure. This is the Real Simple Anti-Inflammation Healthy Habits for Life magazine, $15 at Walgreens.
It's a special edition.
Special edition, yes. So the very next article, dun, 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 in praise of protein and how to get the right amounts for you. So this, of course, talks about the most anti-inflammatory protein sources are fatty fish, legumes, nuts, and seeds, and soy foods.
You sound
Interesting.
skeptical about the soy.
I don't believe I did well on soy back in the 90s, was it? Or early 2000s? Must have been 90s. There was this big push for soy protein all of a sudden, and Slim Fasted soy protein, all sorts of soy protein shakes out there. And I did that, and I really think that pushed me over the edge and caused me my uterine fibroids. I mean, I was having hormonal issues anyway, so I can't say it's totally the soy, but I don't think it was good for me and my body personally. But we know that these types, fatty fish is fine, but the legumes, nuts, and seeds, especially like Georgia Ede, she cautions against those things, saying they are the worst for our brain health and our gut health as well. Because they're like little plant embryos. So they have the most anti-nutrients.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of it that way.
Well, that's why Georgia Ede's brilliant. But yeah, she says that's what makes it worse than like a leafy green or a fruit, is that the plant is especially trying to protect these little plant embryos.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I add flavored seasoning, salt, spices to my burger patty to make it palatable, am I getting concentrated toxins?
I think she would say, I mean, yes, it's concentrated. And if your body tolerates it, that's fine.
Okay.
Because she does talk about paleo and keto. So she does have some looser forms. But I can tell you, she would tell you to stay away mostly from the nuts, legumes, and seeds.
All right.
Yeah. Nuts, legumes, seeds, and grains. Sorry,
Okay.
grains too. But what I wanted to also point out in this article is, let me read it here. Their protein recommendations, it says, we tend to associate meat and milk-heavy dishes with protein-rich meals, but the nutrient is found in plenty of plant-based ingredients. So it wants you to make sure that you can get it from plants here. And it's readily available. You've alluded to this. You've read this. Most of us are getting plenty and don't need to count every gram of protein. And they recommend they say the average American diet is a lot higher in protein than many assume, vegetarians included. And I want to point out that is the protein measured in the food, not the absorbable protein as well. But they are recommending that, don't forget the new plant-based proteins either. Like, they don't say impossible meat, but that's what they're alluding to. But they're saying that they're recommending, I'm trying to find the exact thing, a sedentary 150-pound woman would need about 55 grams of protein a day, And an active woman, 150 pounds, would need 68 grams of protein per day, and talks nothing about aging and needing more protein. So I just think those recommendations are too low. And that's based on, my own N of 1, where when I added protein to my diet, my body started to thrive and I was able to build more lean muscle mass and have more definition. And my body just, everything calmed down with the addition of fat too. But protein, I know I was not eating enough.
So where are they coming up with these recommendations? Like, why do they think this is correct?
That's a good question. I have no idea.
Oh, I was expecting you to have a soliloquy about it, and you didn't.
I don't. I have no idea why they came up with these recommendations, or how.
Well, one of the things we commonly see is too much protein is bad for kidneys.
Yes.
And nobody knows where that came from. It's just something people say as if it's true.
Yeah. I have no idea where they came up with this recommended daily allowance. I know most carnivores like to see no less than 100 grams, right in there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it can vary a little. It's a lot on body weight, but this is too low. I don't think any carnivore would go along with this type of a recommendation, and especially if you're aging where you are biologically unable to absorb as much protein.
Yeah.
So that's a big no.
I just remember that in the pre-keto carnivore paleo era, every article about diet said Americans get too much protein already.
Mm-hmm.
And they just asserted that, and they never proved it. There was the epidemiological studies that was kind of linking red meat in particular to cancer and heart disease.
Mm-hmm.
But those studies were not rigorous at all.
No.
But it seemed like they were grabbed onto without reflection or scrutiny. And that mythology kind of sprang out of it. I don't know. I don't know the history of it. But it's unfortunate because someone who's health conscious might buy this, and it may be reaffirming to them a very dated, outmoded view of nutrition.
Absolutely. And again, if they're aging and experiencing sarcopenia, I don't think their 68 grams of tofu and nuts and a few eggs is going to really do it.
No, well, you've seen it directly in people
Yeah.
who are pretty low protein because of their diet, and they just shrink in front of your eyes as they get older.
Yeah.
They literally get shorter in stature and weaker.
Yeah.
Dramatically weaker
Mhm.
very quickly as they age. So not good advice.
No.
Okay, what else is this magazine
All right.
special edition telling us?
There is probably more. So if you do want to buy it $15 for the entertainment value, you may want it. But I had one more thing that I wanted to point out specifically, and that is breaking your sugar addiction. Now, I will point out that they have a beautiful pot of honey there.
Oh, wait, I got to switch to the view here.
What view?
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, we're here.
Never mind.
We're here. So they have this beautiful pot of honey. I suppose is that an unrefined, is that considered an unrefined sugar? I mean, you do have to process it, but it's lightly processed. I don't know. But beautiful. I'm thinking they're asserting that
It's healthier because it's natural.
yeah, I think so. Which, I would maybe agree, but you don't need to be chomping on a lot of honey unless you're Paul Saladino and surfing 3 hours a day, maybe. I don't know. But it says, I agree with this. Studies suggest that too much sugar can prompt chronic low-grade inflammation. Here's how to retrain your sweet tooth. Again, it says nothing about the inflammation caused by the nuts, seeds, and grains or other plants, but that's okay. I like that they're focused on sugar here. And let's see, I wanted to point out then, there's a recommendation. Let me grab it for a second here. Okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Because it has an actual recommendation here.
Let's just play the theme song.
Okay, I found it.
Let's stop the theme song.
All right. So for women, the daily recommended allowance, let me just point that word out again. It's recommended.
For sugar?
For sugar.
Okay.
The daily recommended allowance of added sugar. So this is not counting the carbs you've eaten with your bread, your quinoa, etc. Okay. Is 6 teaspoons of added sugar is the daily recommendation. Now
That's a lot.
They say most Americans get an average of 17 teaspoons, so they're recommending that you cut down from 17 added teaspoons to 6 added teaspoons if you're a woman. Okay. For men, you're lucky.
Yeah.
You get 9
Oh, wow.
added teaspoons of sugar recommended.
And this is the anti-inflammation special edition.
Yes, it is. Yes.
So one could argue that if you cut your sugar intake by more than half, you would reduce inflammation.
That is, yeah,
Maybe.
maybe.
But clearly, the recommendation for added sugar should be 0.
Well, wait, children, they're a little more conservative with children. They should have less than 6 teaspoons of added sugar a day.
I see.
Okay. Now, there's more.
Okay.
That's great. Like, that's enough, right? But then, if you flip the page, it gives you some suggestions on portion control, right? Only 6, not 17. Creating structure, etc. Cut out sugar in foods that aren't sweet, etc. But then it gives some wonderful recipes. The first one being crispy smashed apples with cinnamon sugar, which contains a 1/4 cup of packed brown sugar. Yes, that's right. A 1/4 cup. Now, I don't know what that works out to each serving.
Well, I can tell you from my point of view, that pan is 1 serving for me.
Oh, and remember, we're not counting the apple sugar. That's not added sugar.
Okay.
So that's free.
All right.
That's free. We have cantaloupe coconut ice pops with a 1/4 cup of granulated sugar.
For anti-inflammatory diet.
Correct. Pecan pear crisp. And that has, let me find it. It has your oats. It has your wheat, of course. It has 6 tablespoons of packed brown sugar. So that's a 1/4 cup plus of the sugar and cornstarch. So that's great too. And then the citrus upside down cake has, I think this one had the most, if I'm remembering correctly. Yes, a 1/4 cup plus 3 tablespoons of packed light brown sugar. So those are your anti-inflammatory recipes. You're welcome.
So this sounds to me very much like something the American Diabetic Association would recommend to people with type 2 diabetes, which is limit your sugar. But they don't say stop it.
Mm-mm.
I'm very interested. I've been following what Dr. Barry's been doing with his American Diabetes Society,
Yes.
which I think is going, hopefully, bring a huge amount of sanity and a big challenge to what is essentially big diabetes.
I like
Big
that.
diabetes is evil.
Well, someone I know was just diagnosed with type 2
Yeah.
diabetes. And again, it's not someone that I can't really give recommendations, right? It's not going to be, they're not asking
They're not going to receive that.
for that. It's not going to be received. And this person, it's a brand new diagnosis. So they have cut out refined sugars.
Well, that's a start.
So that's a start.
Yeah.
But I fear that they might be following the
guidelines.
And I fear that that's not going to be enough.
And the guidelines, I'm not diabetic. I've never had diabetes. You don't.
No.
But from what I've seen on that Dr. Barry's posted about the American Diabetic Association or Diabetes Association on X, seems very clear to me that they want people to manage type 2 diabetes for their whole lives. They're not interested in reversing it.
No.
They want it managed. And I don't think any individual says, yes, we want people to be sick. They definitely don't want them to get worse, but their whole mindset, their whole frame of reference is skewed by the fact that their largest donors are sugar vendors.
Yeah, it's all. Oops, I hit my mic. This is the wisdom that they're spouting.
Yeah.
Right here, and it's just insanity. Just insanity.
So if you've improved your A1C, let us know in the comments. Maybe you've gone from diabetic to having it reversed. We love hearing those stories.
We love hearing it, and we just know that this is sort of a ground movement? What is
Grassroots.
Grassroots movement.
Yeah.
This is kind of a grassroots movement. And so the more proof we can put out there in these videos, in the comments of the videos, in the documentaries that are coming out and have been out, like the more we can do that, the more I think we can touch people and touch them. But create that change. Or at least have alternate information that is findable.
Let's say hello to some of the viewers. Ms. Jackson from Tacoma, Washington. Keto, 1 year keto, 5 months carnivore. And Ms. Jackson also says only salt because spices cause issues. How are you doing with only salt? Are you finding it palatable, easy to maintain, or are there other things you're doing to zhuzh up the meat in the diet?
We did only salt for quite a while. And then I am totally on board with your spice experiment because you need to get the meat in and down. So then we shifted to doing some more spice mixes so that you can try to stay the course.
What I was shocked to discover, because I'm no cook, and so all of the spice blends that you can buy for barbecue or other meat things, I had no idea that most of them have sugar in them.
Yeah.
It shocked me.
Yeah.
Because I just never thought of spices being a sugar-based thing. So, Alan, hello, Alan. Salad is toxic.
Thank you.
Alan, you just need to make up merch. You need t-shirts.
Yes.
That just says salad is toxic. And if you make t-shirts, we'll buy t-shirts and wear them on our stream.
Yes, I so appreciate that. I know we call you out on that, but I really do appreciate it. Even though I'm still eating salads, I've got you on my shoulder, Alan. So thank you very much.
Well, every time, like when I put lettuce on that sandwich that was on our off-plan day or the previous weekend, I grabbed that piece of lettuce and I said, Alan would not approve. That was so funny. Let's see. Terry says, from Florida, 11 months carnivore.
Ooh, coming up on the year. Very good.
That's very exciting.
Yes.
Terry, what benefits have you derived? We'd love to hear it.
And welcome from Florida. We like to go down to Florida.
Alan says 2 years carnivore, HbA1c is 5.7. Very good. My assumption is that it was once higher than that. 28-ounce porterhouse steak for breakfast after sprinting and resistance training. Oh, you're doing the Sean O'Mara hard mode here.
Nice.
We were just talking
just yesterday
because of the house remodel and various complexities of life. I was lamenting that I was not getting my sprinting in this summer. Mm-hmm. And I need to get back into it because I got injured right away when I was doing it because the very first outing, I did something to my leg. But then I switched to stationary bike sprints, and that is hard. But I mean, I could really tell that, like just the next day, I could just tell my body was adapting and processing to that exertion.
Now I feel like you've got Alan here going, salad is toxic, and Alan here going,
You need to sprint. Yeah, that's just what I need.
You've kept up with your resistance training, though.
Yeah, I have, although this summer it's kind of fallen from 2 to 3 times a week to 1 time for sure per week. I did have some energy sort of just malaise kind of hit me this summer a little bit. When I tightened down carnivore,
Yeah.
I had a bad sort of reversal in my energy level. And I do think it's coming back, but it's, I just get a sense that by tightening down, my body has gone through a whole release of maybe some stored toxins in body fat that's finally being let go of. I don't know that that's the case. It's a theory. And just maybe some gut readaptation, but it's been interesting because it wasn't an initial flip from feeling okay to feeling great. It was feeling okay to feeling pretty lousy.
Yeah.
But
surprising.
I've stayed true to it, and I'm gonna continue to, because the alternative is to be steady state okay, and I want great.
And you have noticed sleep improvement, though.
Yeah, that is the one thing for sure. My sleep has improved. And I was going from, if I was lucky, 6.5 hours to most nights I'm getting 7, maybe a little bit more than 7 hours. And that is a big, big deal. Now, all I really need to happen now is to wake up and go, oh, I feel good, rather than, oh, I feel like I've been hit by a truck.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Alan is also fasting every Thursday. So you are on it.
Bravo. Bravo, Alan. Bravo.
He says, if you would sell shirts on your channel, I would buy one from you. Well, maybe we'll do a Salad is Toxic
run.
A limited edition shirt. If you're interested in that, let us know.
Yes.
And he says, we are here to encourage one another. I enjoy your channel. My favorite. Well, thank you so much, Alan. Your support is very valuable to us. We know that you're doing a much, much more high level carnivore than I am, or that you have to. And I really respect and admire that. You're a great example for us.
Yes, definitely.
I aspire to it. And actually, talking about fasting, we've been having this ongoing conversation that happens for like 1 minute every day of, we need to get together and figure out our eating schedules.
Yes.
Because you don't eat breakfast, generally speaking.
Yep.
And by the time dinner rolls around, I'm not hungry. And so we want to make sure we're having one meal together.
And I haven't been hungry at dinner either lately.
So it's looking like we may settle on some sort of lunch as our together meal. And I would have breakfast and you wouldn't.
Yep.
And you might just have a lunch window.
I would probably do an extended window, I think, where I would be free to eat like from 1 to 3:30 or something.
Okay.
I would just eat, not like the entire time, but there'd probably be about 2 meals worth of food in that window somehow. Because at about 4, I start to not be hungry. But I am ravenous during that afternoon period. So
It's kind of what I've experienced. I would have hamburger patties for lunch, and then maybe because I'm not getting enough fat with it, I'd be hungry a couple hours later. And then I might eat some jerky, but then I might be hungry. And then all of a sudden around 5 o'clock, my appetite just shuts down and I don't want to eat. I don't even want to think about food.
Yeah.
And that's about when you're starting to go in the kitchen and starting to make something.
Right.
And then I'm like, I'm sorry you went to that effort. I just don't want to eat.
And I'm going to eat 3 bites.
Yeah.
So it's not been working. But this week was not the week to do that, because we really I need to reorient my day around this midday cooking a joint meal. And this week has been meetings and appointments every single day. So this was not the week to play with that. Next week, maybe.
So you brought another show and tell item.
I did, but I want to set the groundwork for this a little bit.
You do that while I drink some water.
You drink some water. He gets really, the mics pick up him with his water bottle like crazy. I went to the doctor yesterday. Yay. And everything was looking good. This is my hormone. I see him predominantly for hormones, but he's an integrative doctor, so he monitors everything. And we noticed that my cortisol was high this last time. And I have a history of adrenal fatigue. I don't feel more stressed this summer. We do have the house project, but like all my other commitments have fallen away. I don't have theater this summer. I finished my big work project. So I was surprised, but I have been having hot flashes this summer as well.
I thought it was just because you would catch glimpses of me.
Well, that too, but oh my. But so I pulled out, let me see what I pulled out here. Oh, I pulled out, hold on, let me do the switch here. Get rid of this one.
Oh.
Yes. Elizabeth Bright. Now, I have her Good Fat is Good for Women menopause book. She has her adolescent book as well. I haven't bought that one. Now, what I've told you is that I didn't read this whole thing. I really jumped to the dietary information in the back and have played around with increased fat per her recommendation. So it was really good for me to review this and sort of listen to her talk about how to support the adrenals and how that raised cortisol can create hot flashes and menopausal symptoms. Now, I officially went into menopause in 2020, so I don't really have issues with symptoms, and I also get hormone replacement therapy. So this has been unusual, but it does correlate. It does seem to correlate with that higher cortisone level. Now, what I wanted to bring up specifically from her book, though, is that I started to read some of the other spots. At the same time, I was watching one of my mentors in sort of the life coaching, wellness, mindset industry. And she is coming out with a new product on aging, new program on aging and empowered aging. And she talked a lot about changing your mindset around menopause, because we all think, generally speaking, as a society, that it's just downhill from there, right? It's just menopause sucks, and then it's just downhill from there. And I know I have people in my life who are like, oh, this is aging. This is what it's like. Yep, the joints go. Everything goes when you age. How old are these people? Well, 70s some, but you hear it starting in the 50s. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, I'm a little achy, but that's what par for the course, you know? And so I read some more of this, and I just wanted to point out how Dr. Elizabeth Bright, now she already says menopause, she reframes it by saying we shouldn't be having all those symptoms if we are nourishing our bodies and especially our hormones. Okay. So she already sort of turns menopause on its head already. But she writes, hold on, let me find, I've got it flipped, but I want to make sure I've got the right section. Yes, I do. Okay. She writes, menopause is the amazing evolution of human female longevity. So I do want to pause there for a second. What if we started viewing menopause as this superpower for longevity? Because she writes about how reproduction is really taxing on the female body. So when we get to a point where we aren't in reproduction mode anymore, we have energy to do other things. And she jumps onto Kristen Hawkes' grandmother hypothesis. And Kristen Hawkes describes how in her studies of the Hasda tribe, she was surprised to find that the old ladies were amazingly productive. So much so that she was inspired to theorize that menopause drives the longevity of the human species and set to work proving the grandmother hypothesis in 1999 to explain the evolutionary quirk of menopause. Because the only animals that do menopause are pilot whales, orcas, and humans. And she speculates, and Elizabeth Bright is jumping on board this hypothesis, that menopausal women who no longer had small children of their own and were not reproducing anymore were there to help the tribe. Were there to help the mothers raise their children, the other mothers, and also they were able to spend more time hunting or gathering and contributing to the tribe.
Okay.
So, like I said, I just wanted to point that out. Number one, make sure you're feeding your hormones. I love her information. And number two, what if we think of aging, and if you're a woman especially, thinking of menopause as this longevity superpower rather than being like, oh my God, it's horrible. And after that, we just, start to shrivel up and die slowly day by day.
But it can only be this way if you're supporting the hormones through eating lots of fat.
That is true.
That would be Elizabeth Bright's view.
That is her angle.
Because one of the things she's famous for is eating the equivalent of a stick of butter worth of fat per day, right?
Correct.
Not an actual stick of butter, although you could.
Yes.
The equivalent.
Yeah. So she prefers, and she uses that as an example, like you said, the equivalent, but it's more of an 80% fat, 20% protein model. Again, getting more protein than recommended in this, though. And she considers that a healing protocol, and that at some point you might shift that ratio. Yeah. So I'm personally going to try upping my fat here in the next little bit again. I've done some experiments, but not very long term. And I'm just curious to see if that supports my adrenals a little bit. However, I'm not doing a cortisol test for another 6 months, so I won't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you've been playing with macros a lot over the past, I don't know.
This summer.
Yeah. Because you've been following some of the Maria Emmerich stuff.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? I don't understand what you're going to actually do.
So with Maria Emmerich, my ratios aren't that different. I'm supposed to get about 90 grams of protein, minimal. Maria Emmerich's always like, go higher if you want. That's just the baseline, which I've been doing. I've been getting usually about 140 grams of protein a day. And then fat capping at 140 grams.
Okay.
So let me say that. My protein macro is 90. My fat macro recommendation is 140. And that is more of a 60-40, 60% fat, 40% protein. So I'm just going to bump up that fat percentage a little bit.
And leave protein the same?
And protein will be roughly the same.
Okay.
Yeah. What I did with Maria Emmerich is I stopped adding fat to things. So where I used to slather my steak with butter or have butter with my steak, I haven't been doing that, and that's kept me in her macros a little more. So now I'm just adding more fat.
So the challenge I see for that is being able to eat it, like not having enough appetite to eat that much fat and protein.
I've done it before.
I have no problem.
She also recommends, she does not like intermittent fasting. I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I really like intermittent fasting.
Well, keep it then.
So, yeah. But trying to bump things up a little more and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of interesting intellectually for me.
Right. I know. I feel like I'm changing on you. I'm talking about tweaks every single week with you, which is a little confusing. What I want to say, though, is that I am more than a year and a half into my carnivore journey. I'm feeling great. I've hit most of my goals. Things are going wonderfully. And when I started, I didn't count anything. I just ate mostly meat, period. And I didn't worry about any of this. So it would have been too much for me to be counting macros and things. It would have been way too much.
Some people actually, I don't know what percentage of people, they really like to know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not one of them. I don't want to track anything. I don't want to think about it. And so I don't.
No.
But I've been fortunate that it's worked for me. And once I tightened up carnivore, it took a little while, but I have started to drop weight a little bit. I don't know if it's fat or muscle. I don't feel like it's muscle at this point. So just getting a little bit leaner.
Yeah.
And that seems to be working. But weight loss isn't my primary goal.
Mm-mm.
My number one aim is mood and energy. Yeah. And I have not totally cracked the code on what that diet ends up looking like to get to experience your levels of contentment and happiness and energy. Yeah. But I am in the mode of thinking that I am still healing past harms, and eventually my body will come around and the chemistry will fall into place and I will get there.
Yeah. And I want to point out, I'm not tracking every day because I could not do that. I'm just occasionally checking about where I'm at so I can just sort of tweak. Like I said, am I going to add the butter or not add the butter? And it was useful actually yesterday. My doctor did see, I told you last time I went to the doctor, which was about 3 months ago, 4 months, something like that. He was thrilled because I'd lost 5 pounds of fat and no lean muscle loss. This time I had lost like 3 pounds of fat and 1 pound of lean muscle. So he was not thrilled about that. He's like, so are you under eating? And I was glad I'd been tracking because I said, no, I'm eating about 1,900 calories per day. And this is how I was able to give him the macros.
Wow.
And he's like, are you eating enough protein? And I'm like, I'm eating about 140 protein.
I'm eating more than you are, Doc. That's what you could have said.
So anyway, I was glad to have some data for that.
Yeah,
so a little bit of data is good for me, but I do not want to do it all the time.
And I'm excited that you had, again, my experience of as soon as you get into the doctor's office, they take your blood pressure so that they can get the most false high reading they possibly can.
It was horrible. It was so bad. Now, I've been watching my blood pressure pretty closely because I went hyperthyroid for a little while until my medication was adjusted down. And I could tell because one of the symptoms was my blood pressure was high. And I've never had blood pressure issues in my life. So it was strange. So as I adjusted my thyroid medication, my blood pressure went back to normal. And so I get in there. It should take us 40 minutes to get to doctors. It took me a full hour to get there because of road construction. Mm-hmm. Every road I took had road construction. And so I walked in right on time. Luckily, I'd left earlier than normal. And I walked in there just like a couple minutes late. And so I was like revved up, and she sits me down and takes my blood pressure immediately. Yep. It was 140 over 85, which is not my true reading. I know it's
never in history was that even close.
No, not even close. And I was caffeinated. I will say that as well. I was pretty highly caffeinated because it was my one day of getting the nitro coffee rather than having my 1 cup of half calf a day that I usually have.
Yeah, actually, carnivore is the thing that got my blood pressure back to normal. Mm-hmm. It always read high at the doctor's office, and they would kind of give me a raised eyebrow, and then they would hand me the packet that says, here's eat berries and no meat, and your blood pressure will go down and lose weight. And I just would throw that in the garbage because at home, my blood pressure was reasonably good. Variable, but good. But then it started to just happen so consistently. And then I was testing at home, and it would kind of be, 125, 130 over whatever. And I was like, But once I went carnivore for a while, beautiful at home, 117 over whatever.
Yeah.
And I would go to donate blood, and they always check your blood pressure. And instead of being 150 over 100, it would be 123 over 83 or something.
Which is great at a doctor's office.
Yeah.
For you.
And sitting on and that was at that one place where you're at a high top table with one of those bar stools. So you're not, your arms in a weird position and stuff. So anyway, blood pressure very quickly changed on carnivore.
Amazing.
For the better.
Yeah. I was going to say I donated blood this week. My appointment was at 10:15 for the doctor. My blood draw donation was at 10:30. No road construction for my blood donation, and I was 120/70.
Okay.
So same time of morning. I did have some caffeine, but lack of being late and hitting road construction was huge.
We don't like being late.
No. And they gave me time, right? Because you're sitting there answering some questions for a while, and I was probably there a good 5 minutes or so at least before they slapped that thing on me.
All right. Should we check in with the chat?
Let's check in with the chat.
Alan says, my why? To grow old yet healthy with my wife of 42 years. I want to enjoy her as long as I am permitted. That's very sweet.
Yeah.
And I get the sentiment.
Yep. Yes.
Absolutely.
Honestly, with the mental health issues that you had a few years ago and the extreme stress that caused you, I thought I was going to lose you at a pretty young age. I thought
just from a heart attack or something.
The stress levels were going to do you damage, and not your health per se, but the actual stress that was caused by that mental health issue. I thought for sure I'd be losing you soon.
Yeah, and I don't want to go back to that.
So I don't either. I'm so happy now that I actually thanked our doctor yesterday on behalf of me, but I mentioned also for helping you.
Yeah. Well, and he's not a carnivore doc, but
no, he's not.
He's not anti-carnivore necessarily.
He's paleo.
Yeah. So let's see. Jennifer Hackett, sorry I'm late. We will forgive you this time, but you have to understand, we don't tell anybody in advance when we're going to stream. So we expect you to be on YouTube 24/7.
Waiting for that notification.
Good morning from Saskatoon.
Hello, Saskatoon. I think we've shared we got married in Canada.
Yeah.
Not Saskatoon.
No.
We got married in Alberta.
I flew into Saskatoon with my parents and we went fishing. I think I've told this on a live before. And we caught the largest northern pike that ever existed, it seemed like. It was amazing. Lily says, good morning from Miami, Florida. My doctor cut my blood pressure medicine in half after just 1 month carnivore.
Wow. Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
And that's one of those things that you really need to watch closely, because if it continues to drop, you can end up with lightheadedness and syncope. Isn't that what they call it?
I think so. Yeah.
Shows off my medical lingo.
Again, we are not professionals.
No, we are the far. If you enjoy our channel, give us a like. Please subscribe. That is a big help to us. And we appreciate all of the subscribers who've joined us over the past, I don't know what we're in 8 months.
Yeah, I think so.
8 months doing this channel. Let's flip over and check out. I always like to find articles that are outrageous, but I found one that's not. This article here is from Unilad, and this woman switched strict vegan diet for animal only and reveals the changes in her body. It says a former raw vegan has revealed how her health improved after she took up the controversial carnivore diet. Followers of the carnivore meal plan tend to exclude vegetables, fruits, and other carbohydrates from their diet in favor of seafood, meat, eggs, and water. I would not put it in that order, but they did. Due to the elimination of most plant foods, the diet can raise cholesterol levels and increase the risk of impaired kidney function, says Howard E. Lewine, MD, of Harvard Health Publishing.
Dun, dun, dun.
And Harvard Health Publishing is a repeat offender on our stream. You can be guaranteed that they will say anything they can think up to mock this diet, especially red meat. I love the picture. I don't know that she's really going to go full raw.
She went from raw vegan to raw carnivore.
I find that a little bit hard to believe, but it's a good photo. However, there are some health benefits to the intense diet, potentially jump-starting a weight loss program and improving your blood sugar regulation, though it is not recommended. One woman who claims to have felt improvements is Laura, I'm not going to pronounce her name, a former strict raw vegan who previously struggled with joint pain and bleeding gums.
Yeah.
Before 2014, the 39-year-old admitted suffering from itchy skin and low vitamin levels after living a meat-free life for 13 years.
Low vitamin levels.
Why would there be so low vitamins in a diet full of superfoods, JJ?
I know it. It's just they're so hard to get in. They're so hard to absorb. They're so hard to actually digest. All those things.
Yeah.
Makes it tough.
Due to being a self-described food obsessive, Sliazayati wanted to know whether her diet was the root of her problems, so she began to reintroduce various food groups back into her diet, eggs and dairy first before fish and meat. She then challenged herself to complete a month on the carnivore diet. Speaking about the early days of her experience, the IT specialist told What's the Jam, after the first 30 days, I started feeling so amazing, full of energy, and my digestion was better. And it's so funny. I'm laughing. I'm going to switch back to my face. I'm laughing because to those of us who do carnivore, this is not a surprise. But from the other reverse upside down world point of view, it doesn't make any sense at all.
It doesn't. It does not.
Like it does not compute.
There's no fiber.
So I decided to do 100 days. And by the time that I'd finished, I knew this was going to be my lifestyle. Sia Zaidi claims her colleagues laughed at her when she first took up the carnivore meal plan, as she would eat a lot of butter and a lot of meat. We all know what that's like. She added, I get a lot of bad comments on Instagram saying I will soon be dead. I will clog my arteries. I will die from a heart attack and that I'm ruining my digestion.
Yeah.
However, she hasn't allowed the trolls to dissuade her from continuing the controversial diet, mainly due to its, quote, scare quote, health benefits. I feel the carnivore diet changed something in my brain, she explained.
It did.
My sleeping issues completely disappeared. So now I touch the pillow and I am out and I wake up before my alarm, whereas before I could barely sleep 3 hours a night. I had eczema and body itchiness my entire life, sometimes so bad I felt like my body was on fire. This has disappeared. The Londoner further claimed that her body shape has improved since she ditched the veggies and that her digestive issues have gone.
You love talking about that recomp.
Yeah.
Body recomp.
She said, my hair has never been more shiny. Even my eyesight has improved. My energy is always stable now. I don't have the dips where I need a snack or get coffee. Interestingly, Slia Zaidi also claims that her bank account has felt the benefits of switching off from a raw vegan diet. She alleged that before becoming a meat eater, she would routinely spend 100 pounds a week on nuts, berries, and greens. Before starting the carnivore diet, I thought it was going to be quite expensive, but I spend way less money now. I do my grocery shopping once or twice a week, and I get lots of steaks, lots of beef mince, organic eggs, some cheese, and double cream for my coffee. She added that her grocery shop now costs around 50 pounds to 70 pounds sterling a week, which equates to $64 to $90. That's not her. This tattoo face is a different article.
The meat woman is her.
Yeah.
I love, number one, that this was focused on a female, because we've seen so many articles focused on men and this bro diet thing.
Yeah.
So I love that. And number two, I love they talked about the price, the cost of
Yeah. You don't usually see that mentioned in these articles. And while they did do their sort of journalistic due diligence to go get a quote from somebody who would say it's bad, and they did have little slanted sideways comments about it being healthy lifestyle, they kind of let her tell her story,
Yeah.
which is nice because we know that when people are able to kind of give their own testimony about what it's done, that's way more convincing than all of the other articles that will tell you that cows are going to destroy the environment and that red meat is going to give you heart disease, because it just isn't convincing
Yeah.
in the face of people who have totally transformed their health and their lives by getting rid of all of the processed crap and carbs.
I had a meeting this week with someone too, and this person loved my Zoom photo, which is from several years ago, way pre-carnivore. It was good though. I was at a decent weight. It was a lovely photo shoot. And she always loved that picture. My name's Jennifer Joy and I'm laughing in it. It's a really cute picture. And she looked at me and said, "You look better now. I love that picture of you, but you actually are glowing now. And you aren't in that picture." And that was a professional photo shoot, right? And so that was just amazing. I don't know why I just brought that up. The picture.
Well, maybe it's because of this picture of this woman here.
It's that we can see the health of a carnivore as well. You can say, oh, you're going to die from a heart attack. But when the carnivores keep showing up and they're glowing and their eyes are clear and their hair is shiny and they don't have skin rashes and puffiness, it's a cognitive dissonance. It's like this person actually looks full of health. It's hard to dispute.
When someone hasn't seen JJ in a long time and then they see her in person, they can't even believe their eyes. We had family over last weekend and they knew what was up with our diet because they knew about our YouTube channel. But there's no way to really understand it until you've seen her in person and kind of try to remember back a year or more. The change is astonishing. She is literally aged in reverse before my eyes. And I have at least paused my aging. I don't know if I've quite gone in reverse yet. It's a little bit harder to tell with a guy who has no hair.
That is true. Yeah.
So maybe I should get a wig.
I don't think we'll go that route. This is good. Like how I say we, I don't think we'll go that route.
It's up to you. I'll do what you want.
So yeah, that radiant vitality.
Radiant vitality is what she exudes now, and it's remarkable. Did the doctor actually comment on how you looked?
No, he did not.
He probably can't.
You're right. Maybe he can't.
He probably has to watch what he says about people's appearance. But
let's look at the comments one more time, and then we're at an hour. I mean, we missed last week, right? So I knew this week would be chock full of stuff.
Alice says, "This is the carnivore argument for saving the environment. I put every effort into eliminating one cow each year by eating it. If the vegans would join in, imagine clean, it chopped off something, but I can imagine what he was going to say." Marla wants to know how tall you are.
How tall am I?
Be honest.
How tall am I?
You are 5'3" 3/4 inch.
That is the truth.
She will say 5'4", which is an abject lie.
Sometimes I'm at the doctor. They measure me 5'4"
with shoes on.
No, they make me take my shoes off. But anyway, somewhere between 5'3" 3/4.
And your weight now is what?
And my weight is I'm locked in at 128 right now.
128.
I'm flirting with 127, but it's not locked.
And you just had body comp done. Do you remember your lean mass or body fat?
I don't.
Percentage?
Maybe I'll get that for the next one.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that the doctor says I could probably still lose about 2 or 3 pounds of fat. So I'm very near goal.
Yeah. But you're not anywhere near overweight.
No, no, and he doesn't imply that at all.
And he's not even saying that you necessarily should lose that weight.
Yeah. No, he's not saying
he's
that
just saying that you could
safely.
And he wouldn't be concerned.
And he wouldn't be concerned. Yeah, good.
Yeah, I want to make that clear.
Yeah, no, he's not pushing
Her
me to
doctor's
lose
like,
more.
128.
Good grief, woman.
You're nearly 5'4". I'm sorry, ma'am, but
no, not at all.
I don't think I can see you anymore as a client. You're giving my practice a bad name by being 2 pounds overweight. Which reminds me, we watched that Simone Biles documentary on Netflix. It's a 2-episode thing. And one of the things they were talking about was how the body standards have changed for the girls now. And it seems like it's changed way for the better. And I hadn't really thought about it, but they showed some of those Olympic teams from like the 90s compared to today. The girls today look way healthier, the American team.
Yeah.
Because they were right down gaunt.
But they were also, I mean, a lot of them were young, very young girls. But there was definitely a weight thing back then.
I have no insights into it other than what I saw on the documentary. I was like, yeah, they just didn't look as healthy.
No, they did not.
But they all need to be carnivore.
Right?
There was, well, Simone can eat whatever she wants. Let's be honest. Body fat isn't one of her problems. But when she sat down to eat waffles, I was like, you can't eat waffles. You're going to get diabetes.
Well, but she has mental health issues. She's the first to say that.
Yeah.
And some of those might be helped with a bit of diet
That's
tweaking.
totally armchair doctoring from...
Totally, which we do all the time, right?
Yeah. It's one of our specialties when we watch TV together. We're like, you know what their problem is? Carbs. If they would just eliminate the carbs, their lives would be transformed and they'd be so much happier. Oh my goodness.
So funny.
So speaking of carbs,
Yes.
I have been dealing with extreme carb cravings.
Yeah.
Now we had mentioned that we had an off-plan eating day last Saturday.
Yes.
Was. And coming off of that, I didn't have greater carb cravings than before. I had them leading up to it, and then I had them after it.
Yeah.
It made no difference. And this is after having, eliminated artificial sweeteners for 4 or 5 weeks. That made no change, no difference whatsoever. Upping my fat intake, no change whatsoever. Just there's something going on in my mind. Now I haven't caved.
No.
I do have the flavored element. Turns out it's not very sweet. So I don't think that's really a problem, but I don't have Zevia. I don't have, any of that stuff. So I don't know what's going on because initially with carnivore, it wasn't that bad. And then when I really tightened up carnivore a month or so ago, I didn't really have any carb or sweet craving issues. But more recently, it's just been coming on super hard. So I don't really know what to do about that. Some people say eat a pat of butter and it'll go away. And that is not really working. So right now I'm just I just kind of relax and observe the craving for what it is. And then I move on.
Yeah.
And there are carbs in the house I could grab because our daughter's home.
Yes, there are.
So the temptation's there and my brain goes, there's Kind bars in that pantry, but I don't ever go get one. So I want credit for not going to get one.
Good job.
I don't want to be condescended to.
No, I've given you good credit though.
Because in the past, I totally would have gone and eaten them.
Yeah.
And right now, I don't want to go back. Like when Alan talks about his why, I don't have to really think very hard about my why. I don't want to go back to the mental health issues. I don't want to go back to the digestive issues. I don't want to go back to my shirts being too tight and my skin being puffy and all of the other things. I don't want to go back to it. Mm-mm. And my sleep is decent now, so I don't want to lose that. And I also don't want to go back to how reliant I was on those foods to support or fill in for emotional disturbances. Mm. Because once I start eating those things, if I grab a Kind bar today, it's going to be a Kind bar tomorrow and every other day. And then it's going to be chips and salsa. And then it's going to be a burrito. And then it's going to be waffles for breakfast. And I'm going to go right back to the way things were. And all of the health issues and all of the risk factors are going to come back and get worse. And I'm not doing that.
No.
It's simply not going to happen. I've had it with that way of living, and I've had it with that addictive cycle. Now, I was very fortunate. While I was overweight, I topped out at 205 or 6 at my heaviest. I'm 6 feet even. And so, yeah, I looked kind of like every other dad out there. but I easily could have weighed 50 pounds more, except for my digestion didn't let me. I would get so sick that I would have to just stop eating that way. So in a way, I was fortunate that I had a different set of side effects from that diet, from those toxins. But I was extraordinarily reliant on food as an emotional crutch. Mm-hmm. And whether something positive happened in life or something negative happened in life, my immediate thought was, let's go get mac and cheese. Let's go get Mexican. Let's go get spaghetti. And then after that, when I'm totally full of bread and pasta, let's go get ice cream. And I would overeat until I'd make myself sick. And carnivore just eliminates that as a possibility. One, I already don't want to eat the meat that I'm eating because, well, although I did have a steak that I actually quite enjoyed because I was so hungry. And I think there's a clue there. I just need to be more hungry. But it is impossible for me to overeat meat and feel sick at all from eating it. It just simply isn't a thing that can be done because, like Dr. Chafee says, you take a bite and all of a sudden it doesn't taste good and you stop eating. Mm-hmm. We had dinner the other night. I had like 4 or 5 bites and I was like, no, this is done. Had that been some sort of bready based thing, I would have eaten a plate full of it, even though I wasn't hungry. Mm-hmm. And that is not a thing that can happen on this way of eating. And so there is no question in my mind about staying on carnivore. The puzzle that I've got to figure out is how to make the meat more palatable, and maybe fasting is the next step, just so I'm hungrier when it's time to eat, and continuing to experiment with different butter sauces and spice mixes. But there's no question about me stopping this.
And I give you a lot of credit for not liking meat most days, mm-hmm. like literally not wanting meat and still staying the course. Yeah. And I understand why. I live with you.
You've seen the old me.
I've seen the old
me. It
me.
wasn't great.
and the old me, like I get it. And still your commitment level is amazing when you aren't enjoying the food.
Yesterday, I had weird malaise. I just felt kind of tired and achy and just kind of unwell. And I started to think, well, did I eat something weird? No, it wasn't what I ate. And I kind of realized I had just been too sedentary. Mm-hmm. My body is not used to just sitting around all the time anymore. I'm out doing things. It used to be very common for me to get 2,000 steps a day. Mm-hmm. Now, I would have to be ill to get only 2,000 steps a day. And so what had happened was, there's been some weather issues I've had. There's been some issues with the remodeling thing. There's been news obsessions in the past couple of weeks for reasonable reasons. And I had just been doom scrolling and sitting on the sofa too long. So I got up and I started stretching and doing some mobility work. And after a half hour, I felt way better. Mm-hmm. And the problem wasn't that my diet was at fault or that I hadn't got enough sleep. It was I was sitting around too much.
Yeah, that woman I was watching, that life coach mentor of mine, she said the comment of she had to remind herself yesterday that she doesn't need to feel good to start moving. She needs to start moving to feel good because she woke up feeling yucky.
Yes.
And she didn't want to do her activity for the day, which was mountain biking.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, she realized, no, I've actually got to start moving to feel better.
It was kind of my plan to do a workout that day. I felt so off. I'm like, maybe it's not the best idea. But the answer isn't to do nothing. The answer is to say, what's something less than a full workout? And for me, it's stretching and mobility. It's not a huge amount of exertion. And as soon as I started stretching my legs, I could just feel my body go, finally, you're doing the thing that I needed,
Mhm.
even though I didn't know I needed it until I started doing it.
Yeah.
So move your bodies.
Whatever that might look like for you. Yes. Yeah.
So has our sound quality been better? If it hasn't, I don't know what I'm going to do. It has to be better. We have these microphones.
Yeah, we have had some issues with our other setups. So this is hopefully the answer.
So we've been so privileged to have you join us on this unscheduled live. We do try to do a live stream on YouTube on Fridays. Eventually, it will be a more predictable time, and we will let you know when that is. If you've enjoyed our channel and the things we've shared, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Tell us about your carnivore journey, how long you've been carnivore, the benefits you've gotten on carnivore, not only for us, but because other people like to go through the comments and see what all the hubbub is about. Because there's many people who encounter our channel who aren't carnivore yet.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out if this is something that they can do or should try. And so when you talk about the benefits you've derived, they get to see that, and that gives them encouragement. And that's what we want to do with our channel.
Yes.
So
Encouragement.
I think we're going to sign off,
Yeah.
and we will have a new video for you on Sunday morning and on Wednesday morning.
And it will be on time this week because we should be able to record tomorrow.
Right, because last week it was,
The last 2
there's a lot of
weeks,
stuff going on.
Yeah. It's been a little late.
So with that, we are going to sign off. Goodbye.